All right, let's take a look here at Azure AI Search, which is formerly known as Azure Cognitive Search. They've dropped that cognitive brand because in the world of Gen AI, it is just not AI enough for people to understand what it is. So it is a search engine for both traditional search and for RAG, most often for RAG these days. It combines a search engine with AI features to provide advanced search capabilities, ideal for applications needing full text search, vector similarity search, hybrid search. So there's a lot of search options here. And when we go and do the labs, you're going to see there are a lot of search options. I can't even make sense of them all, but that's okay. We just need to practically know how to work with it for our exam. Let's take a look at the components that are here. So on the left-hand side, you have your data sources where you are bringing data in. You're bringing them into your index. And your index here is the vector store. When I was going through the labs, I did them first. I was assuming that it must store it somewhere else, like Cosmos DB, some kind of document database. But it turns out that it has an index, and the index is the vector store. And I guess the thing is that the data that it's storing is basically, it's an index, so it's just storing references to those documents and maybe chunked data. It's not necessarily storing the entire contents of those files. Azure AI Search has some additional paid add-ons. So it has a customized entity lookup skill. It has a document cracking, image extraction. We talked about what document cracking is, so that is a feature it has. And then semantic ranker, and we talked about what semantic ranking is as well, so you should know that. Looking at the pricing, you can see here it goes from free to storage optimized. It can get very expensive, up to $5,000 a month. But the tier that you're going to want to use, and I'm pointing to standard, but the tier, if you want to use any of those advanced features like semantic ranking, and I think we do use it in the follow-alongs, because we need to show off semantic ranking as we use that B tier. And it says there on the right-hand side per month, but understand that it's you don't pay that up front, right? It's going to be whatever it is per second, per minute billing there. So we're going to have low costs even using the basic tier. Let's talk about the components that are involved within Azure AI Search. The first is your data store. This is the data that would be indexed for retrieval. So you can use Azure Blob Storage, Azure SQL Database for your relational databases, Azure Cosmos DB from getting from your document database. You have the index, which is the actual vector store here. It's going to, I assume, store chunk data and references to your data sources. The default fields here we have is the key, so it's a unique identifier, searchable, queried using the full text search, filterable, used in filter expressions to return only documents that match criteria, sortable, only used to search results, face table, so facets, which are UI elements that help filter results based on the list of known values. Where these UI elements are, I do not know. Retrievable, and so this is basically your projections of what fields you want to come back. But I noticed that there's a button that you use in Azure AI Search that's going to set up everything for you, and it adds additional fields there like the vector data and also chunks. So just understand that even though they're not in the default values, depending on how you set up Azure AI Search, those fields will be there. And when we set up a RAG, those are two that you are going to see. We don't really talk much about chunking. But chunking is when you have data from your data store and you break it up into chunks so that it's easier to work with, and then you store it in your vector store. Just imagine a big document breaking it up into parts, okay? And inserting those as records in your index. We have an indexer, which is a data crawler. If you are from the AWS world, you know AWS Glue, you've heard of a data crawler before. It extracts data from the data source and populates indexes, and you have skill sets. This is attached to indexers to process data to extract from the data source. You can create custom skill sets, often leveraging AI services. So they have a bunch of pre-built ones in, and so some stuff they'll use there are the Azure AI services. And if you see the word data crawler, you should think ELT or ETL, because basically this has built into it a very basic ETL from your data sources over to here. I didn't list it here, but you can run your indexer on a schedule. So you can import it once, or you can tell it to run on a schedule based on particular terms and things like that. But yeah, that is the basics of Azure AI Search. And there you go.